My name is Daniela Emmer. I typically go by Ella, and I am a junior psych major. I identify as gay or lesbian. So I'm currently president of PRISM, which is Rowan's LGBT activism organization, and being someone who's always been super passionate about human rights and activism, having this opportunity is amazing. I feel extremely privileged to be able to lead a group of amazing people to continue to create change, not only in our community and in the world. And I find that oftentimes, unfortunately, a lot of LGBT individuals don't have supportive home lives. So to have that sense and reality of chosen family is so important, and I truly feel that we're all a family in PRISM. As a freshman in high school, I joined the field hockey team, and interestingly enough, a lot of the girls were lesbians, and so I was introduced to my first lesbian couple. I had gone to Catholic school from preschool all the way to 8th grade. So the LGBT community was not discussed or recognized, and if they were, it was to reiterate the idea that being gay was a sin. So being gay was never something that occurred to me until this couple introduced me to lesbian culture, like shows like The L Word, which follows a group of lesbian friends and like the trials and tribulations that go along with that, and queer films such as Blue is the Warmest Color. And it wasn't until then that I started to realize, like, okay, we're not straight. And it took a year of being extremely distressed and confused, but sophomore year, after having certain experiences, I was finally able to acknowledge and accept the fact that I'm gay. Unfortunately, my sophomore year, I was outed to my field hockey team, my coaches, and most of the athletic wing, and that was a very uncomfortable experience, and I held a lot of resentment at the time for not being able to share my story on my own terms. Luckily, somehow, it didn't trickle out to other, departments and groups, and I had a lot of different friend groups, and so my theater friends didn't know until I willingly came out my junior year. So the first time I willingly chose to share my identity was actually also not an ideal circumstance. I was in junior psychology class at the time, and I overheard a group of my male classmates behind me using extremely hateful and derogatory rhetoric pertaining to the LGBT community. And that made me very uncomfortable, and being the person I am, I turned around and I said, well, what's wrong with being gay? And everyone went silent except for a classmate I had known for 2 years. And he said to me, well, Daniela, if a girl came up and tried to kiss you, wouldn't you be weirded out? Wouldn't you think it's gross? And while I was not publicly out at the time to a majority of the school, I said I'd kiss her right back. And that led to me being called a dyke and laughed at. And after that moment, I decided that I was no longer going to allow people to make me feel small for who I am and how I love. And I found that, while not easy, there's so much power in being unapologetically you and being loud and proud. And since then, it's been a very freeing and liberating experience. So one of the big factors when I was choosing a college was that I was going to feel safe and accepted for who I was. And that was one of the main reasons I chose Rowan. And a big example of them showing their support was last year when we had a group of protesters come to campus, and they basically were spewing anti-everything, homophobic, racist, misogynistic, transphobic messages. And the entire campus came together to counter-protest. And not only that, later we got an email from the president of the school saying that he stood with us and he saw us. And that was so validating and affirming, because what more could you ask for than leadership supporting you? Because Rowan is such a safe and accepting community, I've always felt extremely comfortable being myself and being authentically loud and proud. And with that, I hope that it can inspire other people to do the same, because I know that sometimes it's easier to live your truth when you have others to support you and you know you're not alone. And with that, I'm an RA on campus, and something I try to do is I'm always open about my identity, because I want my residents to be able to come to me with all issues, but especially LGBT issues, because it's so important to know that you have a safe person where you can discuss your issues without judgment and not have to feel scared for your safety. Everyone in SJICR is amazing. I think it's incredible. We have a whole center dedicated to promoting inclusivity and diversity, especially for the LGBT community. And there's nothing I love more than going to the LGBT room after class and hanging out with my friends or doing homework. And everyone in that building is amazing. And it doesn't hurt that they have snacks, because I'm always hungry. I think oftentimes we focus too much on being externally proud. And while that's amazing, some people don't have the privilege to be out because it's not safe, or for whatever reason, or you're still trying to figure out who you are. But that doesn't mean you should be any less proud, because proud's something that comes from within. It's being proud of every part of you, even if you don't have that figured out yet. And at Rowan, you have a home. There are so many different organizations and so many people who love you exactly for who you are, even if you don't know who you are yet.